Lee Selby versus Eric Hunter. The judges scored a fight 116-110, 116-110, 115-111 in favour of Lee Selby. I think those scorecards are about right instinctively based on the fact Hunter had a point deducted for a low blow. I didn't score the fight myself beyond the 6th round because it was kind of going in one direction, and I realised it wasn't necessarily going to end up too close on the scorecards. This was a bizarre fight. This was a frustrating fight at times. It was also a slightly intriguing fight at times. Lee Selby was given some bother today and didn't look completely unbeatable. You know, and when I think of Lee Selby, I think of him as a real high-class boxer who's going to be very, very hard to beat. And he showed signs of mortality today, notably when getting dropped very, very heavily in the 2nd round. Eric Hunter was a very slick, very slippery, very skilled opponent who brought a lot of world-class attributes to the table. His reflexes were bang on, his head movement was bang on, his ability to bend at the waist was exceptional. He showed a superb chin, his body shots were good at times, and his single punch counter-punching was really, really strong from Eric Hunter. He landed an array of highlight reel counter-punches on Lee Selby. The problem was, firstly, he relied too much on his reflexes and kept his hands down by his waist rather than in front of his chin. Secondly, his punch output was far too low. You know, even when he dropped Selby in the 2nd round, he didn't really push the pace. You know, it wasn't till very end of the fight when it was too late that he didn't get on his front foot. You know, if Eric Hunter had got on his front foot from the start of the fight, forced the pace and had a high punch output, he could have made this fight very, very close indeed and really competitive. You know, Lee Selby, for me, won 5 of the first 6 rounds, barring the round with the knockdown, largely by sheer activity. You know, Eric Hunter was landing some nice punches, but just not doing anywhere near enough to consider scoring him the round. I mean, Lee Selby boxed well early on. I've got to give him credit for that. You know, Selby was picking nice punches. He was landing. Yeah, he was the much longer guy. He was substantially bigger than Eric Hunter. It was another one of those occasions. We had it in the Jamie McDonald-Vargas fight. We had it here again when Lee Selby looked at least a weight class above Eric Hunter. He really did for me. And Lee Selby was looking switched on. He was looking sharp. I do think Lee Selby is slightly better against guys like Gradovich and Brunker. We've seen guys like Montiel and now Eric Hunter, who are slick guys, slippery guys. We've seen these guys give him a bit more trouble. You know, the real sort of come forward, course into the wind type guys like Gradovich, he tends to pick off, and fundamentally that's why I think he'll deal with Josh Warrington if those two ever fight. But Eric Hunter gave him some real problems. Eric Hunter's big problem, however, was his attitude. You know, his hands being low, his output, those were big problems, but his attitude was the real big problem, and it made for a bizarre and fascinating fight. You know, he was complaining, moaning, whinging from round 1. The referee had to take points. The referee was trying to give him warnings and he was refusing to even look at the referee. He was sulking massively. I didn't think his corner helped. You know, at one point the referee, Marcus McDonald, tried to get his corner up and say, look, if he does this one more time, I'm going to disqualify him. You know, Marcus was appealing to the corner to try and control their man. And all his corner started doing is, oh, you're going to have a word with Lee Selby over this, over that. You know, I didn't think that was helping their fighter. So it made for a bizarre fight. I got a tweet halfway through the fight from Billy saying, does this guy remind you of a featherweight Kevin Johnson? You know, Kevin Johnson, a famous heavyweight fighter. And to be honest, yeah, you know, all the skill was there. Some of the defensive skills were sublime. Just the punch output, the desire, the hunger didn't seem to be there in his performance. And he let the fight slip away from him. He really did. You know, Lee Selby, credit to him, he's won a wide points decision against an opponent who was very, very skilled. He showed heart by getting up from that knockout in the 2nd round and great recuperative prowess by winning half a dozen rounds, but straight after being knocked down. You know, he recovered very, very well. But Lee Selby looked slightly more beatable, to be honest, than I thought he would do. You know, after his performance against Gradovich, I thought this guy, you know, really is the Welsh Mayweather. This guy is going to be a dominant champion. And now after the Montiel fight, after this fight, there's a few nagging doubts for me over Selby. Seeing him dropped, seeing him being counterpunched so easily by Eric Hunter. I just wonder whether a real skilled, slippery technician fighter like a Lomachenko, but somebody with much more output than Eric Hunter, is going to have the beating of him. But nevertheless, credit goes to Selby. He faces a tricky mandatory and he wins a wide decision. I just didn't think he looked as godlike as we've seen him in the past. Let me know your thoughts. How did you see the fight? Did you enjoy it? Where does Lee Selby go from here? Many thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this, do hit the thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys.